Number 14, Texas Tech routs Oklahoma State 42-0. But some major question marks surround the quarterback position for the Red Raiders. Will Hammond left in this one, and Behren Morton's status as of right now, well, is up in the air for their matchup out in Manhattan next weekend. In today's video, we'll recap this historic defensive performance for the Red Raiders, look at the latest when it comes to the injury report for the quarterbacks for Texas Tech, as well as the latest Big 12 standings and how the Red Raiders officially control their own destiny. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Red and Black Report. Appreciate y'all tuning in to today's video. It was a boring, is that rude to say? I don't know. It was a boring football game. I mean, Texas Tech did exactly what they were supposed to do. They just absolutely shellacked a team that is the worst team in the Power Four. That's what they're supposed to do. And the Red Raiders went out and covered that gargantuan number, 38.5, by covering, well, by a score of 42-0. And there's a lot to discuss, most notably the quarterback position, but let's at least recap the game first before we get into the latest in terms of the injury status for Texas Tech at the QB spot. You see it on your screen right there, Will Hammond. He was in the game for a while, but Mitch Griffiths, yes, you heard me correctly, was the leading passer for the Red Raiders in this one. A gentleman that had not played in a college game in terms of meaningful snaps, right, in his estimation, in 2 years, right? So I know he had played early on, but this was meaningful football for Texas Tech. Even if it was 28-0, like, hey, you're playing in Big 12 play, right? This wasn't a non-con game, even if the level of the opponent probably was. And I mean, shoot, you had Holden Phillips come in and play at one point in this game, but Cam Dickey led the way in terms of rushing in this one. It was a really weird game. Like, I thought Jacoby Williams played really well. Obviously, he made an instant impact for the Red Raiders with a 99-yard kickoff return to set the tone for Texas Tech. The Red Raiders were up 14-0 within really the blink of an eye, it felt like. 370 total yards for Texas Tech, 282 through the air, only 88 on the ground. But one of the most notable aspects for the Red Raiders in this one, only one penalty on the day. So we go in further and we look at just strictly the Texas Tech stats. You can see them on your screen right now. And I don't know, call me biased if you want. I really don't give a damn at this point. We need to have a serious conversation as Jacob Rodriguez, not only as the Butkus Award winner for the best linebacker in college football, but he's one of the best overall players. He had a strip fumble. Peanut Tillman once again picked it up, took it to the crib for a fumble recovery TD, and he led the way in tackles for Texas Tech. He limped off the field early on in this one, returned back, and I mean, he's unbelievable. I truly think he will go down as one of the greatest defenders to ever don the scarlet and black for this Texas Tech football program. And I understand he's not going to win the Heisman. That'll probably be for Fernando Mendoza up at Indiana, but damn it, he deserves to get some votes. I mean, he is clearly the most impactful player on the defensive side of the football in the Big 12. He can do it in coverage. He can do it in the run game. He can get after the quarterback, and he absolutely wreaks havoc when it comes to forcing turnovers. He's a bona fide superstar and a guy that, in my estimation, there is no reason whatsoever he should not be a day 2 NFL draft pick at the very least. So go in either the second or third round. He is going to make an NFL franchise here in just a few months. Very, very happy. Now back to the offensive side of the football. Caleb Payday Douglas finally got going, and funny enough, it was with QB3, Mitch Griffiths. He was the 42-yard touchdown catch and run by Caleb Payday Douglas. Coy Aiken looked like he was hobbled a little bit in this game, but he was okay and played through it, had 7 targets. You got to see Micah Hudson on the field for the Red Raiders. He had 2 catches for 32 yards. Reggie Virgil had 2 for 27. Kelby Volson with 1 for 10. And then Cam Dickey rounds it out with 1 for 7 in terms of the receiving game. Now, The biggest thing in this one for Texas Tech was Will Hammond got hurt. And it was one of those weird plays where set the stage for you. He runs the football, comes up about a yard short on third down, so it's 4th and 1. You see Texas Tech call a timeout, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, okay, they just had second thoughts. They're going to end up punting and pin Oklahoma State deep, and that will create, well, a great situation for a dominant Texas Tech defense. That's not what happened. Mitch Griffiths came back out for it. That 4th and 1, not Will Hammond, and Will Hammond was on the bench. It sounded like it was an ankle, but now it sounds like it's a possible knee injury. And Don Williams of the Lubbock Avalanche Journal had this quote from Joey McGuire saying, Tech will know more tomorrow about Will Hammond after an MRI, on his knee. I thought it was pretty good in terms of someone in the comments actually asking his knee. Watching the replay, I thought he twisted his ankle. McGuire said he's having an MRI on his knee. So he clarified there as well. I actually had somebody on the sideline text me and was like, hey, it sounds like it's a knee injury. It doesn't look great. I'm speculating there. That doesn't mean anything on the MRI front. I'm just saying that I was told by someone that was on the sideline, hey, like it looked like it was his knee to them. Again, pure speculation. McGuire confirmed that he will have an MRI on his knee going into this week. And now the question arises, well, who's going to start a quarterback for Texas Tech? Because doomsday scenario, and this is no disrespect at Mitch Griffiths whatsoever, you cannot have him start at Kansas State. You simply cannot. Did you see what the Kansas State Wildcats did to the Kansas Jayhawks there in Lawrence, Kansas today in the pouring rain? They took out some hurt feelings, okay? I get it's a rivalry game and crazy things happen, but Kansas State Wildcats, absolutely dominated the Jayhawks. I mean, it was bad, right? How bad the Jayhawks looked in a rivalry game. That being said, let's talk about another Don Williams tweet, and we'll get it on your screen right now. Joey McGuire said Behren Morton would have been able to start tonight if more was at stake. If it was a competitive game, then he would have been able to go. First and foremost, that is music to every Red Raider fan's ears. I mean, my goodness, like I thought he should have played in this one. I understand the psychological aspect of it and the reasoning in terms of, hey, you're going to beat the you-know-what. I mean, it was a BTA situation. And for those that don't know, BTA, belt to ass. We keep it at least PG-13 here. Try and do one curse word on each video. Limit myself to that. That being said, it was a BTA type situation for Texas Tech, and they knew more than likely coming into this matchup, that's what it was going to be. Okay, so it sounds like the Red Raiders are going to have Behren Morton back as QB1 for the Kansas State game, and that is imperative for Texas Tech and their potential success, because now they have every opportunity in front of them to win the Big 12. Let's look at the latest Big 12 standings. BYU came back and absolutely shellacked the Iowa State Cyclones up in Ames in the second half. They were down at half, I believe, by 7. I believe they scored late. It was 24-10 with about 3 minutes left in the first half, and then Bear went down there and made it a one-possession game, and then the Cougars did not look back after that. Cincinnati, they're for real, people. They're really freaking good. Brendan Sorsby is a bona fide star at the quarterback position in the Big 12. They are 5-0 after, well, putting a beat down on the Baylor Bears. And then shout out to the Houston Cougars. They have all but formally eliminated the Arizona State Sun Devils from repeating unless absolutely crazy stuff happens in the Big 12. Texas Tech now holds their own destiny getting to Arlington. The reason being is now Texas Tech goes into the most important 2-game stretch maybe in the last, 50 years, honestly, of Texas Tech football. And I am not trying to overhype it. Reason being is this: if you beat Kansas State in Manhattan next weekend, you are going to play BYU in a situation where more than likely it's a top 10 matchup. Okay? That matchup is virtually a spot for a spot in Arlington. Okay? And if you have a win over BYU, you got the tiebreaker there. You'd have the tiebreaker over Houston, right? And let's just pull up the standings one more time. So you'd have the tiebreaker over BYU. You'd have the tiebreaker over Houston at that point with one loss. You don't play Cincinnati, but BYU and Cincinnati play later on in the season. I believe it's actually the week after the Cougars come to Lubbock and play the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Okay. So Texas Tech now controls their own destiny thanks to, well, Cougs. Shout out to the Houston Cougars, man. We appreciate you out in the 806. That's for sure. So the big news for Texas Tech in this one, first and foremost, you get the dub. The Texas Tech defense is legit, and you do exactly what you're supposed to do against the worst team in the Power Four in the Oklahoma State Cowboys by beating them 42-0. Will Hammond will have an MRI on his knee, according to a report from Don Williams, who had the post-game presser there with Joey McGuire. And then also, it sounds like Behren Morton will have more later on in the week, and hopefully Joey McGuire can clarify on Monday for his Kansas State weekly presser, right? That Behren Morton will be back for that matchup. It is imperative for Texas Tech and the success for them up in Manhattan to have Behren Morton back with the uncertainty of Will Hammond. And now the Red Raiders, thanks to their win against Oklahoma State and getting a little bit of help out in the desert where they sustained their first and only loss of the season so far last weekend against Arizona State, the Houston Cougars go from H-Town to Tempe and beat up on some Sun Devils out in the desert to give Texas Tech the advantage and, well, controlling their own destiny from here on out. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. Here later on the channel, we will have the good and the bad from this game. I think we're going to be talking a lot about the good in terms of the defense, and the bad, we may need to talk about the offense in some respects here, most notably up front. But that will be talked about in another video. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button for 100% free Texas Tech football and men's basketball content all year long, whether it's on the hardwood, the gridiron, the portal, high school recruiting. And it was a massive weekend on the recruiting trail for Texas Tech football. A lot of recruits enjoyed their time out in the 806 this weekend. Hearing good things there. We'll let you know here on the channel. Just another reason to subscribe to the largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube in the Red and Black Report. All right, I'm RC Maxfield reminding you, as always, stay safe and Recom Tech.